Cool. Hello and welcome, guys, to the first Property Secrets. My name is Tony Perera. I'd like to welcome you if you're joining us, and we look forward to blessing you with the knowledge that we have around property. Now, you may be an experienced investor or a seasoned investor, or you may be new to property, looking for a strategy that will help you in your investing journey. If property is what you've chosen, and obviously there are lots of other avenues, but real estate seems to be up there with, in terms of wealth generation. So I'm joined by my co-host Fazal Ullah. Some of you may know him or may have seen him. He's a very, very experienced property investor, has a great lot of knowledge, so we're very, very lucky to have him as a co-host here. And it's been a joint decision. Myself and Faz have worked together for a long time. We've both done very, very well in property. So we wanted a chance to show that and to share that with you. For anyone that's interested and would like to know a little bit more, and hence why we've called it Property Secrets, is because this is in effect the secrets and the knowledge that we've gained over the years, and we would like to share that with you, and hopefully we hope that would help you in your property journey in the future. So we've got a fun lineup for you today. We are going to do a bit of introduction, myself and Faz here, on how our journey started, which some of you may relate to. And we do hope that you do. Or if you're new and just looking for a plan, something to follow, some of the advice and guidance that we give from our own journeys, may help you, and that is the absolute main thing, and that's the main objective for us. But one thing is, obviously we're posting this on as many social media channels as we can. So all we do is, if you do find information interesting, please give us a like. Or if you feel that there's someone else that could benefit from it, please do share it, and any comments that you have. Now, we've got a few questions that come in for this session, which we'll be answering at the end. However, what we would encourage is that any questions that you have following on from the session, please do send it to us, and we'd be happy to answer them on the next session. Or we can respond. We will respond in the comments, either or both. So I hope that that helps in terms of guidelines and what you may be wanting to sort of know in terms of questions. We do want to make this interactive, and we currently are on Zoom. We have posted the link out on our social media, so we will welcome any live callers onto the call when we have the question and answer session. So so what I'm going to do now is just wanted to say hi, Faz. How are you? How are you doing? Okay.
Yeah, hello there, Tony. A very good evening to you.
Thanks for waiting so patiently, and thanks again for being on the call. As we're very lucky to have you here, sharing your knowledge and your tips, your secrets, showing us your scars, and how your journey has been. So as we both like structure, Faz. What I'm going to do is there's a few sort of sections that I want you to cover in your introduction. Now, the first one is just a general introduction as to who you are, and then the next one will be about your journey so far, so where it started, and obviously any business ventures that you've been, that you're in that's related to property, and obviously your property journey itself, strategies that you've done in property, any goals and ambitions that you have currently, and any goals that you've achieved would be good. And obviously, we're currently still, lockdown is easing as of today here in the UK. But any tips for property investors post COVID-19, or sort of in this sort of transition period that we're in following lockdown. So, and I will do the same as well. Once you finished, I will do the same. So if I'll hand the floor over to you, Faz, and if you can kick off with your introduction. Thanks.
Oh, fantastic, Tony. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Welcome to all the viewers here. I hope the lockdown period has all been gone very, very well for everyone. It's been fantastic for me. It hasn't really affected me as much because I run an online e-commerce business anyway. And I started property back in 2007, when the market was beginning to crash. And we were going to be hitting a huge recession, with Morgan Express went bust in April or May 2008. And Northern Rock went bust soon after, so it was a very terrible time to be getting involved in property. But of course, they say that more millionaires are created in times of recession than any other time or period in the world, So for me, I saw an opportunity whilst many people were staying away. There were no first-time buyers that were going into the market. Estate agents were struggling to sell their properties. The only types of people that were buying properties at that time was investors. And we are having a rerun of that now. In fact, it's a much better opportunity now, what we've got on our hands, than we had back in 2007. So I was someone who was always curious about wealth creation and what people do and how they do it, and I started to read lots of autobiographies of many successful people, and everybody's dabbled in property. So for me, that was a clue. And then I researched property. I met a middle-aged couple while I was with my family in the heart of Croydon, which is where I live. And I was admiring their car. It was a BMW X5. I obviously own a better car than that now. Mine's a convertible. But however, I was admiring their car at the time. I asked them one question: what enabled you to buy that car? They told me it was property. They're middle-aged couple, so mid-50s, and that conversation led me to property. And they introduced me to one or two property gurus, and that then led me to the largest property exhibition centre in the UK, which we have twice a year, once in spring and the other in autumn. It's at the Excel Centre. And there I just met all the sort of property millionaires and gurus from all over the UK, all in one place, with thousands of people there, and exhibitors, and I was like a spoiled child in a sweet shop, I just wanted to learn and learn and learn, and every sort of guru was doing a presentation or a talk on their journey and what they did and how they can help others. And so I went up to the presenter of every single one that I went to, and I must have gone to, over the 3 days, I must have spoken to at least 10 or 20 of the presenters, and they all told me one thing, my question was, if I wanted to accelerate my success, what's the one piece of advice that you would give me? And they all said the same thing, and that was find yourself a coach. And so I started researching coaches up and down the country. I found a coach, and I wanted someone to walk me through my deals. So whenever I have a challenge, then somebody could help me and guide me and support me through that. You know, I didn't want to just become a course junkie and go in course after course after course, spend money after, and yet have nothing to show for it. I actually wanted to take action. So that enabled me to take on a coach, and then within kind of 12 months, I purchased like 6 properties in 2008, and all HMOs. So one, you know, I went crazy, I went ballistic, you know, in terms of, it's all a numbers game. Anything you do is a numbers game. And all I did was just do lots and lots of viewings at estate agents. You know, my offers were ridiculously low. And some agents were ready to knock me out. But of course, you know, I don't care what they think. I just wanted to know if I could get a deal from them or not. And I was going through lots and lots of agents, lots and lots of viewings. I must have done about 120 viewings a month. It's a lot of viewings. But all I wanted was one deal. So, and that enabled me to put lots and lots of offers in to get me the one deal every other month that I wanted. And the months in between, of course, I was tenanting the properties, you know. So that was a very successful month for me. Now, my first property would enable me to become financially free because I just needed, you know, £2,500 cash flow. And that was, for me, that was like, you know, I didn't have to work for anyone. Didn't need a job, you know, a job, you know, just over broke. I didn't need one of them, you know. So, and then that gave me, because I had income coming in from that property, that enabled me to buy my second one. And of course, I didn't have money, I didn't have a disposable income either. So then I had to educate myself with the help of my coach. And I went on 1 or 2 courses, as you do, and I learned how to buy properties using other people's money. You know, one of my other mentors, his name is Robert Kiyosaki, and he wrote the book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It became the best-selling book in our industry around the world. If you haven't read it, I would recommend it to anybody. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And another book that helps me to grow my mind and develop myself was a book by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich. You know, I would recommend that book highly. They say that 80% of success is mindset and 20% is the vehicle and it is the strategy, you know, and if you get your mind right and it aligns in alignment with your values, then the road becomes a lot more clearer, because then it becomes, you know, you have clarity, you know. And of course, I went on 1 or 2 other events like Anthony Robbins, as you do, you know, T. Harv Eker's The Secret of the Millionaire Mind. Read those books, and that's really enabled me to progress. Now, moving on from that, then after HMOs, I went and bought some buy-to-lets scattered around other parts of the country. You know, I invested in South Wales, for example. I invested in Nottingham. I went to Margate in Kent. I went to Bromley as well in South East London. You know, so, you know, I then from then on, after buy-to-lets, I went into lease options. I did lease options, then I just went into deal packaging and sourcing for investors, because at that time, a lot of people were coming up to me and saying, look, you've done this for yourself. How about if you can help us? Because we haven't got no time, we're working, you know, and if you can help us, then we'll pay you a fee. And I was saying, okay, well, yeah, I got good at sourcing deals, actually. I knew what to say, I knew how to say it, and how to structure the deals with the agents, etc. So I then became one of the leading negotiators. You know, I started working in partnership with Simon Zucchi, you know, and he created a marvelous system. There was 10 of us, and I was one of the negotiators, and my patch was north of Manchester. You know, and so we was on the ground, of course, you know, getting the numbers, and we was making phone calls, going to see the vendors, negotiating the deal, packaging it up. While, you know, Simon, he was sending them over to his investor database, and we were going 50-50 deals. So that went very, very well. And then I spent a couple of years just consolidating with what I've already achieved, and went on holiday. I went to visit about, I think, 8 or 9 countries during that period. And then I came back and I met one or two people, and there was a huge craze around 2014, 2015 regarding rent to rent. I never heard of it, and I never knew what it was. So I thought, okay, well, this is a new strategy. I've already done HMO, so rent to rent comes as a second nature to me. Well, it should be. But I still educated myself. I still went on a course, and I found one or two partners, and we teamed up, and we built up a portfolio of 16 properties. It was, and it was crazy. It was full on. It was fantastic. It was brilliant. In each property base, it's £600-800 a month. Cash flow is huge. It does have its bad moments. It does have its challenges. It does have its ups and downs, like anything, But as long as you're willing to, as long as you know what your end goal is and what you want to accomplish, and you'll do anything to get there, and bypass any challenges that you have, So from rent to rent now, what my goal now is this year. I also see another opportunity. I'm just going to repeat what I did back in 2007. And this year, I want to get another 6 HMOs. I'm just going to repeat it, and I'm just going to repeat the process. I know what to do. I know how to do it. And a few people have asked me if I can help them. Yeah, absolutely I can. Yeah, no problem. Anybody wants me to help them, then I will support them, because a lot of people back in the day helped me, So whatever comes around goes around, and of course, I'll help others, and that goes without saying. So at the moment, I'm speaking to different mentors, coaches, and also speaking to developing my peer group, my peer team. And you want a peer team, or what I call a power team, And my power team is like, your mortgage brokers, your solicitors, your coaches, your builders, your accountants, And there are so many strategies out there, and it's unreal, And I want to take advantage of those strategies, no money down, because that's what I'm used to. I'm used to putting no money in anything and getting a return, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
That's amazing, because that concept is for a lot of people seems very unreal or a little bit far-fetched, but we're both living proof that that can happen. We're not saying that you completely cannot put any money in, because there will always be, and I hope you agree, things like legals and all that kind of thing. There are sometimes some expenses of the deal, but what we're talking about is being creative with your property investing. Is that right, Faz?
Yeah, you've got to be creative, absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
So,
sure.
Thank you for what you've done. I think if you could just touch on the next couple of topics, which is, so you mentioned about strategies that you've done. So if we just list them. So you mentioned sourcing, you mentioned HMOs, you mentioned rent to rent. Anything else that we missed off, Faz?
Yeah, there's buy-to-let as well.
Buy-to-lets as well. Fantastic. Okay.
And options.
And you've done some options as well. Perfect. Yeah. For any viewers that don't know what lease options are, could you give us a little bit of a really brief description of what lease options are?
All right. Well, you can make property these days. You can flip a property without buying a property. And basically, in London at the moment, currently, you've got dilapidated properties. You've got properties which are run down. You've got distressed properties.
Okay.
And vendors that need to sell, they have to sell for a reason, like they're a split couple, or there's been a probate, or there's been something's happened, they're in financial difficulties, etc. They need out, and they just want out. That property, they haven't got the money to do the property up. It's in poor condition, and they'll take £250,000 for it. It's just a box down a three-bedroom house. But if you did the property up, it's going to be worth like 400, 450 easily in this market. Even in this market, the properties I bought back in 2007, they're worth £500,000 each now. And if these are worth £500,000, 3-bedroom houses, 4-bedroom houses, you know, and even if it's if a surveyor down values to, like, say 450, and you end up buying a property which is poor condition, so the vendor wants out 250,000, so you avoid the 3% stamp duty, then you know, you put an option on the with the vendor to say that, look, I will buy this property off you, but give me 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, so therefore he gives you 6 months, you know, and in that 6 months you're going to do all the work. The work is going to cost you 50k. It needs a kitchen, it needs a bathroom, it needs electrics, it needs wiring, it needs floorboards, it needs everything, absolutely everything, double glazing, central heating, new boiler, etc. 50k it needs to do the whole thing up, you know. Yeah, so you spend 250 to 300k. Now you haven't spent the 250k, mind you. You've got an option, yeah, and you're going to do the work which you spent 50k. Where have you got that 50k from? Bounce back loan. Bounce back. Yeah, the government are giving away free money at the moment. Yeah, so you put in 50k to do the work. Yeah, and now end value, that property is valued at £450,000. You put a 75% mortgage on it. Yeah, you sell it to a first-time buyer on the open market with an agent. Yeah, you have now pulled out. You have now sold that property for, what's the numbers? What's it work out to be? I haven't got a calculator with me. 450, 75% loan to value. Let's say it comes to £375,000 or £350,000. You know, you only put in 300k. Yeah, so what you do is you've given the 50k is a return to an investor that you give him 10%, which is £5,000, you know, and you're now left with 50k, you know, depending on what that loan to value was. I've got a calculator with me, yeah. So you've just flipped a property without buying it. That's called an option, and you can do that in months. I don't know if you understand.
Very, very powerful strategy, isn't it, Faz?
It's powerful. Yeah, it's normal.
Great stuff, great stuff. Now, so we last couple of bits that I wanted you to just touch on, obviously just bearing in mind the time. Your goals and ambitions for this year and in property and any other businesses that you do. And also tips for property investors post COVID-19. What would you say? Any suggestions, any help you can offer, and advice you can offer to people in the market?
Firstly, I would say is look, learn how to do the different strategies. No money down. Learn how to do the BRRR. They call it. That stands for buy BMV, below market value. Yeah. You then refurb it, and then you refinance it, and then you rent it. Yeah, so you got B and 3 R's. Yeah, that is a beautiful strategy. You can do that with buy-to-lets, and you can do that with commercial valuation as well. You know, it generally tends to work much better kind of north of Birmingham. Okay. So those are the strategies, and then you got other strategies like delayed completions. You know, you've got options, you've got unmortgageable properties, you've got negative equity properties. You know, you've got you can do all sorts of things. You know, you just got to know what you're doing. You know.
Yeah.
So what was the next question, Tom?
So that was. So that was the tips for property investors post COVID-19.
Oh yes.
But your goals and ambitions, Faz, how would you?
Yeah. So my goals this year is to get another 6 HMOs. That's what I'm going to be doing. Once the lockdown is completely cleared, I'd give it until about July time. You know, I'm still seriously. I'm ready to go and hit the ground running, really. Yeah, I'm really excited. I only got 6 properties in the next 6 months, 7 months. So by Christmas, I should have another 6 properties added to my portfolio of properties, all HMOs, all being systemized, leveraged, and so it runs itself, and it's been managed, etc. And all I do is just create equity and create passive income, from the comfort of my own home. I mean, I might have to go and visit once or twice, but that's no biggie, Yeah, so that's my plans for this year, and longer term, I'm going to probably go into next year. I reckon there's going to be huge opportunities in commercial to residential opportunities. And I believe those opportunities are beginning to come now, because a lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of businesses are going shut. A lot of organizations are going bankrupt. A lot of companies are having to move ship. So that leaves lots of opportunities, lots of offices, lots of pubs. And I read a figure yesterday that was just staggering. Out of all of the businesses that are closed, 20,000 pubs are not going to reopen. Now that that for me, like, I smell money there. I smell cha-ching. How many of those do you want to you want to convert into flats? There's going to be huge opportunities. Those savvy investors, the ones that know what they're doing, they're going to be in there like a blue-ass fly, and I'm going to be one of them. I'm not going to miss the boat for no one, So the key thing is for me to raise your finance, get your free money from the government. You've got 12 months, even if you do nothing with it in 12 months, just give it back to the government and put it in a savings account. But don't spend it on liabilities. Read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. Yes, but spend money on things that are going to put money in your pocket, not money that are going to take money out of your pocket. Yeah, that's the key there. Yeah.
Great advice. Great advice.
Yeah. So
thank you, Faz. So I'm going to do my introduction now as well.
Yeah.
And then we, as I said, towards the end of the session, we've got some questions from some other listeners, and we'll open those. And if anything else comes in the meanwhile, we can add those on as well. Okay, so thanks again, listeners, whoever's watching. Great to have you on. My name's Tony Perera. I'm based in West London. I'm a property investor, and I have worked. I've done a number of strategies. So I've got the wounds, I've got the scars. Definitely, want to share my story. So, my journey in property so far started. I suppose it started a fair amount of years ago. My family's been in property for a number of years, so I've always had a passion for it. My father had a few buy-to-lets, which I used to help him with back in the day. I was his free letting agent, so I used to run the ads for him and do the viewings for the properties, and then let them as well. But the only difference was I didn't get paid for that. That was free, because obviously it was family. But that was good, because I learned a lot, and I learned how valuable it was to know things like this. And I could see that, especially here in London where I'm based, there's a very, very strong demand for property. Normally when we used to put an ad, we had room rented or the flat rented, within a number of days, because there's always such a high demand. So that was sort of where it all started. I then obviously that was always going on in the background. Throughout my career, I had a few sales roles, which I did, because I think I was always sort of naturally always liked entrepreneurism. Even though I didn't have my own business, I liked the thrill of sales and that type of environment. And I've carried on with that, up until now. So, probably over the last 20 years or so, I've always been involved in, a business stroke sales type of environment. which I enjoy. So my journey in property so far, as I was saying, after I'd sort of had a few, career, my career was in sales, as I said. I desperately wanted to work in property full time. So I worked for a number of large firms within sort of development, property management, for example, and really, really enjoyed, myself, because I learned a lot. There's a lot, as they say, you don't know what you don't know what you don't know, which I found was very, very true, because there's a whole world of stuff in terms of property that I had no clue about. From having a small family portfolio to then being exposed to a world where I was working for a developer that was building hundreds and hundreds of thousands of apartments in very expensive areas of London. So that was a real eye opener, and I really, really enjoyed myself. I then worked. I also worked on the social housing front, which was also something I enjoyed, because there's nothing better than being able to place a family in a property, or seeing a family in property really, really need it. And that's something that that's the reason why I did that. And I worked with a couple of councils and a couple of companies that were involved in social housing. So that gave me really, really good insight into how that, because that was also something that was also alien to me, because prior to doing that, I was always involved in the private side. So the public side is something that was very, very rewarding and very, very useful knowledge to have. Now, so the strategies that I've done, which I'll explain, shortly. Now,
do you have a mentor? Huh? Do you have a mentor, Tony?
Yes, I was actually just about to mention that. So after I finished sort of working, I was I happened to bump into Faz. We at that time, I was very, very interested in rent to rent. I was sort of starting my journey, and that's one of the strategies that I want to talk about. I met Faz, and we got to him very, very well, and realised that he was highly experienced in rent to rent. Was already successful, had a portfolio running, so we hit it off, and we started working together, and Faz helped me in the initial stages in growing my my rent-to-rent portfolio, and I had a number of properties around West London and Northwest London, which I did very, very well from. So that was one of the strategies that I did. So I understood that that's what helped me sort of understand. So rent to rent, I did so the property management. So I was managing the properties, letting the properties, I was doing it all myself. Whereas obviously this is something that should be systemized, but because it was in the early stages, I did it all myself, and I did enjoy it. But maybe that's the reason why I stepped back from it, a little while later, a few years later, because I found that I was getting burnt out by doing all those hours and all that work, and having all the stress of dealing with tenants day in, day out. So I decided to step back, and carried on working, and in the middle of that, I did do some sort of consultancy roles, which was very good, and I got those roles on the back of, on the strength of the knowledge and the experience that I had. So that really helped. Now, my advice, my goals and ambitions for this year are, yes, I mean, I think it is going to be a good time for property investors, because there are going to be a number of properties that that may come down in price, and there may be a deal to be had. But also, as mentioned, there, the lending seems to be a bit more lenient at the moment, and the government is open to helping people, as long as it's obviously, the money is used for the right, in the right way. That you are eligible to get certain loans and certain grants, especially if you've got an existing business and you're self-employed. So, do explore those avenues if that's something that you've been thinking about. Now, so as I said, so my goal is to grow my portfolio. I'm looking for at least 4 properties this year, and HMOs, because that's what I know best, and that is, I think, one of the best strategies in terms of wealth generation and capital growth, and also cash flow as well. Now, my tips for property investors post COVID-19 is, as I just said, is really do research the market. There is a lot of money that you could be useful or could be benefiting from at a very, very low rate. So do research, and as long as you find out about how best to acquire that money, then that it's there for the taking. So do look into that. And yeah, and as I said, there are there's going to be many deals on there. So around. So I would definitely say keep doing your research, and keep on it. I mean, if you make an offer and it doesn't go through for whatever reason, straight away hold on, because follow up, I would say, is a real key to your property investing journey. But if you have any questions around that, please feel free to like, comment, and share, like and comment, and let us know what your questions are, or if there's anything that from what I've just described would you want to know more about. Please feel free to comment. So I hope that's given you a little bit of insight into who I am and my journey so far. But as I said, always happy to help with any questions. So just keeping an eye on the time, Faz. The session's gone really, really quickly. So I hope people are enjoying themselves. Now, there are a couple of questions from some people, from some of our listeners who have sent them in prior. So I'm going to ask you those questions, Faz, and I'd like your sort of honest answer on them. So we've got Andy from London, who's asking for new people, for new investors or people that are very young in the game, may not have that much cash. He's suggesting around £1,000 in savings. What would you advise someone with that sort of money? How can they get involved? With property, bearing in mind property, can be quite expensive, or without the right knowledge, not knowing how to invest can be a bit daunting. So, what would you advise, Faz? Someone starting out, someone with very little funds, what would your suggestions be?
Okay, I would say see if you can speak to family or friends to see if they could give you a pot of cash. I started with 20K, and that's what I borrowed, from another investor. So maybe that's all you need as well, so that'll get you in. Also, if you look at credit cards, raise money on credit cards. There's a technique that you need to understand how to use credit cards to raise money Remember, credit card company is other people's money, and is another lending institute. Yeah, and they only make money once they lend people money, and once people use their money. So if you borrow their money or get another credit card application, they're going to give you a limit of maybe £2,000 or £5,000, and then I would transfer that money into your bank account. Yeah, make sure that one of those credit card companies can transfer the money back into your bank account, and then within 30 days, transfer the money back to the credit card company. Now, the credit card company thinks you use their money, so now you're in their good books, and because you've used their money, you paid all their money back. They want to lend you more money. So in 30 days' time, you ring them up and say, look, can you increase that 2,000 to 10,000? They'll ask you what you want it for. Just say. As long as you don't say you want to buy a car, if you say sensible things like, I want to upgrade my home, or I want to do home improvements, or I want to, double glazing or central heating or something, etc. like this, or garage conversion perhaps, then they'll lend you the money, and then once you've got 10K, just repeat the process. You get 20K the following month. If you keep doing that for like 6 months or so, by the end of the year, you'll have you could have 100K on a credit card, which is enough to buy 4 or 5 properties up north, right? Yeah. So that's being very creative. You got to know what you're doing, though. You got to know what you're doing. And if you want any help with that, then obviously touch base with me. I can help you with that. That's not a problem. What else? So then joint venture. Joint venture is always very good. So someone who's got money but has got no time. You might have the time. You put that together, and that creates a partnership, joint venture. Yeah. And then you just need to know how to structure it, and then you come to a coach like me or someone else, and they'll help you get it structured. Yeah. So, my favorite at the moment is what's it called? Bounce back loans. Yeah, bounce back loans. Yeah, it's free money. The government giving away money. They want you to have money. They're not asking any questions. In fact, as long as you can tell them that your business, you can even be a sole trader. You don't even need to have a business account in some banks. It can be a personal account as long as you can prove that you've got a business running in the background, and I'm sure you can do that. And as long as you can tell, as long as the question they ask you is your business projected to make 200K in the next 12 months? And as long as you say yes, you're going to get money, and that's free money. Yeah. So if you get 50K and if you do the BRRR strategy, you pull your money back out within 12 months, you can have 25K will get you 2 properties. Yeah. So another 25K will get you. You should have 4 properties. It's just Tony's strategy. You should get 4 properties in 12 months' time. And if you don't end up using all the money, it doesn't matter. And plus, let's just say you have to leave some money in the deal. You can't pull all your money back out. Something goes wrong, As long as the properties are cash flowing, and even for the year 2, you've got enough money where the rent's coming in, pays up the loan for the first 12 months of the second year, you could pay that money in year 2 using the cash flow. So it's a win-win. And then you've got property, which costs you no money. You're using other people's money. The property's going up in value. You bought it below market value, and you've got equity in there, and you're producing cash flow. And if it's a HMO, you should be making £800 per property, which is 8 times 4 is £3,200 per month, and that is financial freedom for most people, and it's cost them no money. Those are my hottest of the hottest strategies. There are other strategies where you can go into bridging, where you purchase the property cash, and there are bridges that lend you money, and sometimes they will, if you go to the right expert, give you 100% the purchase price. If they don't, they give you 70%, and you just got to raise the 30%, but they will give you 100% of the refurb cost. So either way, you can't lose. There are more strategies, but those are the main ones.
Thank you, Fazal. That's great wisdom. And as I said, to some people that might seem a little bit far-fetched or very, may seem unrealistic, but this is speaking from his heart. this is strategies that he's done himself. Am I right, Baz?
Yes, absolutely. I've done every single one of those strategies that I'm talking about.
So,
But I know,
we wouldn't be talking about things that we haven't done ourselves. So, I hope you hope that that's given you some value. Now, the second question is from Nicole in Birmingham, and she asks, what is your favorite strategy and why?
okay. When I was investing in property back in 2007, I mean, my good old friend Simon Zucci will remember this, because he wrote a book about it actually called Property Magic. But it was the Mortgage Express, same day bridging. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. It was awesome. I used to get turned on from this strategy. It was beautiful because you could buy a property, right? Okay, let me give you an example. I bought a property in a HMO in Margate in Kent. Yeah, I bought this property for £250,000. Yeah, right. I didn't use any of my money. Okay, the surveyor came in and valued that property for £300,000. Yeah, I got 25% mortgage on that. Yeah, that enabled me to purchase this property on the £300,000, no money down. Yeah, are you with me on that? Yeah. So yeah, you've got that. So £300,000, put 25%, 75% loan to value. It comes to wherever it comes to 250. Yeah, and I bought it for 250. So therefore, they've lent me money. Yeah, the bridger has lent me the deposit because the bridger has come in and said, here's the money for the deposit. And then on the same day, that property gets refinanced. The money comes back out. I don't see any of the money. It all goes between the solicitors and the bridger, and it all gets wrapped up like that. And I get the deal. That's what I'm interested in. Yeah. Now, all right. So with times, you have to change. You have to adapt. So what's the newest strategy? The newest strategy is just below market value. If you buy 28% below market value, I'll tell you, you're no money down. You'll cover your surveyors, your valuation fees, it'll cover your legals. Yeah, and it'll cover your sourcing fee if you're using a sourcing person to purchase, get it for you, which is about roughly around 2K. Yeah, so it covers all that. 28% BMV. Yeah, if you do 30% or 28% plus, anything which is the difference between 28 and 30, that might be 2%. That's money that comes back into your own pocket. So now the lender is giving you money to buy property. Now, how great is that? Which is not costing you anything. And if you do it just 25% below market value, and you get a 25%, 75% loan to value, then you can purchase a property. Let's say you bought a property for 50K. Let's say the deposit was 75% or the 25% deposit was 15K. And let's say you did 10K refurb cost, which comes from the investor, which comes from the bridging company, which comes from the friend or family, which comes from the credit card. So you're not putting any money down yourself when it comes to refurb. If you are putting money into refurb out of your own pocket, you're a fool. That's a simple way to put it. Yeah. So put some money down from your own money as a deposit. Yeah, initially. Yeah, because the lender would want to see some skin in the game from you. So once you do that, okay, and then you do the work using someone else's money, yeah, then you refinance at the value, which if you bought it for 50K, it's down by 75, 80K. You pull up 75% loan to value. It covers your outstanding mortgage or the money that the loan that you got, the money that you put in for the deposit. For example, all that comes back to you. And I'm afraid I think there is a 6-month rule that you have to wait on that. Yeah, but if you know what you're doing, yeah, again, it's all about knowing what you're doing. You can have 2 or 3 deals running simultaneously, where all of them are protected from the 6-month rule. Yeah, because you're financing it creatively, if that makes sense. Yeah. So if you got any more questions, then do fire away and let me know. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much, Faz, and great insight. Now, thanks. I think we're coming to the end, but it's been a really good, great session. And just to talk about, so our next session is on Thursday, yeah, and we will be discussing about finance. So, which is both of our favorite topics.
Oh wow! Okay, fantastic.
And so we've got a great session for you guys in terms of how to finance your property deals, different methods of finance, creative finance. We're going to cover all of that for you. And you know, this is coming from a position of experience, funding. Now, obviously, you've talked about financing, you know, straight purchases, Faz, but you financed rent-to-rent properties as well, yeah?
Yes, yes, I used other people's money for rent-to-rent as well.
Yeah, and lease options as well, yeah? So
lease options, you don't need any money, actually.
No, yeah. I mean, you know, should there be any fund, like, for example, as you mentioned, Reaper, for example, you would use other people's money to finance.
Oh, yeah, 100%, definitely. Only a clown uses their own money.
I like that. So yeah, so perfect. So I look forward to seeing you guys all on the next session. Please do send us your comments, like, shares, you know, whatever it is, and we will definitely want to help you. But thanks again, and yes, good night, and hope you enjoy the rest of your week. All right.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody.